If this message stirred something in your heart, don't walk away halfway, don't pause at the edge of breakthrough. Sit with this, stay with this, watch the video from beginning to end, not just with your eyes, but with your soul wide open. Let every word reach the places you've kept hidden. Let it speak to the parts of you that are tired of pretending, tired of running, tired of being strong for everyone but yourself. Let this be the moment you stop scrolling and start feeling. The moment you stop avoiding and start healing. The moment you choose you, because somewhere in this message there's a piece of your story, waiting to be seen, waiting to be heard, waiting to be held. So breathe, be still, and come with me from the first second to the last. This isn't just a video, this is your mirror, this is your moment, don't miss it. There comes a moment in life when everything we know, everything we hold dear, begins to fall apart. And in that silence, in that stillness after the storm, we are left with one question: who am I? Now, I used to believe strength meant holding everything together, the smile, the plan, perfect picture of success. But I was wrong, because it was only when everything around me crumbled, when I could no longer hide behind the roles I played, the titles I held, or the dreams I chased, that I finally met someone I had ignored for far too long myself. This is not a story of pain. This is a story of awakening, a journey of rediscovery. It's the story of how I met my truest self in the middle of my brokenness. And if you are in that place today, cracked, weary, uncertain, I want to tell you something. You are not falling apart. You are falling into place. Asterisk, there comes a time in everyone's life when the carefully constructed walls we've built around our identity begin to crack. The labels we've worn so proudly, successful, strong, independent, unshakable, begin to fade, and we're left staring at the mirror, not recognizing the person looking back. For most, this moment is terrifying. It feels like defeat, like failure. But what if I told you that this is exactly where the journey begins? Brokenness is not the end, but the beginning of self-discovery. When life shatters, it forces us to pause. It disrupts the momentum of distraction, the race we often don't realize we're running. In our attempt to keep moving, keep achieving, keep proving ourselves, we overlook the one person we spend every second of our lives with, ourselves. And then something happens. Maybe it's a loss, a heartbreak, a diagnosis, or a dream that falls apart. Whatever it is, it shakes us. It brings us to our knees, and suddenly all the things we thought made us who we are vanish. That's when the fear sets in. If I'm not my success, if I'm not my relationship, if I'm not my ambition, then who am I? It is here, in the stillness of that broken space, that the soul whispers, not in loud declarations, not in certainty, but in quiet questions. What do I really feel? What have I been avoiding? What parts of me have I silenced just to survive? The beauty of brokenness is that it strips away the illusions. It leaves only what is real, what is raw, and what is true. And for the first time, we are invited to meet ourselves without the costumes, without the masks. When I fell apart, I thought I had lost everything, but I hadn't lost myself. I had only lost the version of myself I thought I had to be. That version was crafted by expectations, my own and everyone else's. It was stitched together with a desire to be accepted, to be admired, to be enough. But the truth is, you don't find your truest self in applause. You find it in silence. You find it when the crowd disappears and the stage goes dark. You find it when there's nothing left to hide behind. Self-discovery is not glamorous. It's uncomfortable. It's messy. It means facing parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. It means sitting with grief, not just for what you've lost, but for what you never gave yourself permission to feel. It means learning to love the parts of you that are unpolished, the wounds that never fully healed, the fears that linger quietly in the background. In brokenness, you begin to realize that wholeness was never about perfection. It was about honesty, about being real with yourself in a way that doesn't demand change, but invites compassion. We often think healing is about fixing what's broken. But sometimes, healing is about discovering that we were never broken to begin with, we were only buried. Under the weight of expectations, under the pressure to perform, under the fear of being judged, we buried our true selves, and the cracks, they are not signs of failure. They are the openings that allow the light in. They are the invitations to look deeper, to listen more closely, to remember who we were before the world told us who we should be. Pain has a way of awakening the soul. It strips us down to our essence. And in that rawness we find clarity. We begin to ask questions we were too busy to consider before. What do I truly value? What brings me peace? Who am I when I'm not trying to be everything to everyone? These questions don't have quick answers, but asking them is the beginning of self-discovery, and every time you dare to sit with the discomfort, every time you choose to be honest with yourself instead of escaping, you get closer to the truth of who you are. The world often celebrates the strong, the put together, the ones who seem unshaken. But true strength isn't found in holding everything together. It's found in the courage to fall apart and still choose to show up. Still choose to try again. Still choose to believe that there is more to your story. When you fall apart, you meet the parts of you that don't need validation, that don't need applause, that don't need to be anything other than what they are. And in those parts you find your essence, your authenticity. Falling apart has a way of removing the noise. It takes away the things that no longer serve you. The roles you were playing, the narratives you were stuck in, the lies you believed about your worth, all of it begins to fall away. And what remains is something sacred, something honest, something that was always there waiting to be seen. It is in this space that self-discovery happens, not in the moments when everything is going right, but in the moments when everything falls apart. So often, we fear falling apart because we believe it means weakness, or that we'll never recover. But the truth is, every time you break open, and in that openness, there is room for something new to emerge. A new perspective, a new purpose, a new understanding of yourself. You begin to see not just what you've survived, but how deeply you've grown. Not just the pieces that fell, but the truths they revealed. When everything around you crumbles, you are given the rare opportunity to rebuild from a place of intention, not based on what others expect, but based on what your soul knows to be true. You get to decide what stays and what goes. You get to redefine what success looks like. You get to reconnect with the dreams you once buried, the passions you once dismissed. And most importantly, you get to befriend yourself, not the polished version. Not the perfect version, but the real, raw, beautifully imperfect you. This journey of meeting yourself through brokenness is not easy. It requires patience, gentleness, and courage, but it is worth every tear, every quiet night, every uncertain step. Because what you find on the other side is not just a stronger version of yourself, it's the truest one. The one who doesn't need to pretend, the one who doesn't need to prove, the one who is enough, even in the falling. True strength is often misunderstood. We grow up believing that strength is about never falling, never crying, never doubting. We're told to be strong, as if strength means being untouched by pain or unshaken by adversity. But as life unfolds, as we encounter our own losses, disappointments, and heartbreaks, a deeper truth begins to surface. True strength is embracing vulnerability, not avoiding it. It's the quiet courage to be open, to feel deeply, and to show up as you are, especially when everything inside you wants to hide. In a world that praises the image of invincibility, vulnerability feels like a risk. To say I am hurting, or I am afraid, seems like an admission of defeat. We are conditioned to keep our masks on, to smile through the pain, to carry burdens silently. But the weight of pretending can become heavier than the pain itself. The moment you choose to drop the mask, to let your guard down, to tell the truth about your inner world, you begin to experience a different kind of power, one that does not come from domination or control, but from authenticity and honesty. There's a unique bravery in being vulnerable. It's not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. It's the willingness to say, "This is who I am," without knowing if you'll be accepted, understood, or loved in return. Vulnerability invites connection, it invites healing, it allows others to see us, not as perfect, but as real, and in a world starved of realness, your truth becomes a gift. Embracing vulnerability means acknowledging your emotions without judgment. It means making space for your anger, your sadness, your confusion, not to wallow in them, but to understand them. Emotions are messengers. They show up to reveal something deeper about our needs, our wounds, our hopes. When we suppress our feelings, we don't eliminate them. We simply bury them alive. And buried emotions have a way of resurfacing in ways we least expect. Through anxiety, through numbness, through disconnection. Strength is allowing those emotions to come to the surface, to be seen and felt, and then choosing how to respond with intention rather than reaction. There is strength in asking for help. There is strength in admitting, I don't have it all figured out. These are not signs of weakness, but signs of wisdom. They reflect a self-awareness that recognizes the need for support, for community, for grace. No one is meant to carry everything alone. Yet, we often carry pain in silence because we think no one will understand. But vulnerability bridges the gap between isolation and intimacy. When we open up, we create space for others to say, "Me too." We create space for shared humanity. Some of the strongest people are not the loudest, not the most assertive, not the ones who seem to always have it together. They are the ones who show up authentically, even when it's hard. They are the ones who allow themselves to be seen in their brokenness, not just their brilliance. They are the ones who keep loving, even after being hurt. They are the ones who continue trying, even after failing, because they understand that vulnerability is not a weakness to be conquered, but a truth to be honored. It takes courage to confront your own story, to revisit the moments you'd rather forget, and to choose compassion over shame. Vulnerability is being able to say, "This happened and it hurt and I'm still here." It is the strength to tell your story without editing out the pain, without downplaying the struggle, and in doing so, you not only liberate yourself, you give others permission to do the same. You create a ripple effect of courage. When we numb ourselves to pain, we also numb ourselves to joy. You cannot selectively suppress emotion. If you close off your heart to avoid hurt, you also close it off to love, to laughter, to meaning. Vulnerability is what keeps the heart alive. It is what allows us to be moved, to be touched, to be changed. A strong heart is not a heart that is closed off, but one that stays open even when it's been broken. One that chooses to love again, to hope again, to trust again. The journey of embracing vulnerability is not linear. There will be days when you feel strong in your openness, and days when it feels like too much. That's okay. Strength is not about consistency, it's about intention. It's about showing up again and again with honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about giving yourself grace when you fall back into old patterns and gently guiding yourself back to truth. We live in a culture that equates vulnerability with exposure, as though being real is a liability, but the opposite is true. Being real is your greatest asset. It is what connects you to others, what grounds you in purpose, what sets you apart in a world of performance. The people who inspire us most are not the ones who seem perfect, but the ones who dare to be fully themselves, who speak with sincerity, who love without walls, who share their journey, not just their destination. There is a quiet, unshakable power in being comfortable with not having all the answers, in choosing to sit with uncertainty instead of rushing to fix it, in letting your heart break without letting it harden. Vulnerability allows for transformation. It is the fertile soil in which growth takes root. Without it, we remain stuck in roles, in masks, in cycles that keep us from our truest selves. You cannot be truly strong if you are disconnected from your own emotions. Strength without feeling is a facade. It might impress others, but it will not fulfill you. Real strength comes from integration, from holding both your pain and your power in the same breath, from being able to say, yes, I've been through it, and also, yes, I'm still standing. Not because you were untouched by the storm, but because you let the storm shape you, soften you, strengthen you. To be vulnerable is to be alive. It is to experience life in its fullness. Not just the highs, but also the lows. It is to walk through the world with your heart open, knowing you might get hurt, but also knowing that love, joy, and connection are only possible if you do. That is the paradox of vulnerability. It invites both risk and reward. And the reward is worth it. The strongest people are not those who avoid pain, but those who walk through it with their eyes open, who face themselves honestly, who embrace their humanity, and in doing so, find their divinity. Because when you choose vulnerability, you choose truth. And when you choose truth, you reclaim your power.